There is a precise moment in the journey of personal transformation that tests the soul more than any other. It is not the moment of crisis. It is not the dark night of the soul, nor is it the heavy work of confronting your shadows. The true test arrives in the silence that follows. You have done the internal work. You have faced the hidden blocks and released the heavy anchors of your past. You have aligned your heart with the absolute understanding of the kingdom, a state of profound peace, boundless love, and inherent righteousness. You feel different. The internal frequency has shifted, and yet you open your eyes, look at the physical world around you, and everything appears exactly as it was. The bank account reflects the same numbers. The relationships carry the same tension. The career seems just as stagnant. The physical reality staring back at you seems to mock the spiritual magnitude of the shift you just experienced inside. In this uncomfortable stillness, a very specific anxiety begins to creep in. It is the anxiety of waiting for evidence. The mind whispers that perhaps you imagined the breakthrough. Perhaps the field of infinite potential does not exist for you. Perhaps nothing is working. But you must understand a fundamental law of the physical universe. External reality is a lagging indicator. The three-dimensional world you are walking through today is not a reflection of who you are right now. It is a dense, materialized projection of the thoughts, beliefs, and frequencies you were holding weeks, months, or even years ago. Matter is incredibly heavy. It is energy vibrating at its slowest possible rate. Because it is so dense, it requires time to reorganize itself to match a new frequency. When you look at your current circumstances and feel discouraged, you are essentially reading yesterday's news and mistaking it for tomorrow's reality. To master the application of manifestation, we must bridge the ancient wisdom of the kingdom with the contemporary language of quantum science. The quantum field is pure, unformed potential. It is the realm of the Father of Spirit, where all things are already finished, and all possibilities exist simultaneously. In the quantum field, manifestation is instantaneous. The moment your frequency changes, your reality changes in the unseen dimension. But we do not live purely as energy. We inhabit physical bodies within the dimensions of space and time. Time is the buffer. Time is the mechanism that prevents every stray thought from instantly materializing in your living room. Dr. Joe Dispenza eloquently teaches that where you place your attention is where you place your energy. If you place your attention solely on the physical evidence of what you do not have, you are anchoring your energy to the past. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. If your state of being is waiting, the universe will flawlessly reflect back to you the experience of waiting. If your state of being is doubt, the field will reorganize to give you more reasons to doubt. This is why the great masters always taught that true faith is not blind hope. Faith is a highly advanced form of quantum observation. It is the ability to observe the unseen reality with such absolute conviction that the physical world is forced to bend to its shape. When the Christ consciousness walked the earth, the instruction was clear: "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." This was not a demand for blind obedience. It was an explanation of quantum mechanics. You must believe, you must embody the frequency, before the physical eyes can see the result. The greatest mistake you can make during this phase transition is to constantly measure your progress by checking the three-dimensional world for proof. We live in a culture obsessed with immediate gratification. We want to press a button and see the result. But the kingdom does not operate on the timeline of human impatience. When you continuously check your environment to see if your manifestation has arrived, you are unconsciously transmitting a signal of lack. You are verifying absence. Imagine planting a seed in rich, fertile soil. You water it, you make sure it has sunlight, and you trust the laws of nature to do their work. But what if, every single morning, you dug up the soil to check if the roots were growing? You would destroy the very process you are trying to cultivate. When you are constantly checking your bank account to see if abundance has arrived, or constantly scanning your environment for signs of the breakthrough, You are doing the equivalent of opening the oven door every 2 minutes to see if the cake has risen. Every time you check for evidence, you interrupt the process. You let the heat out. You collapse the wave of pure potential back into the familiar particle of your old reality. You must stop taking the temperature of your life. The absence of immediate physical evidence is not a sign of failure. It is simply the gap between the speed of light and the speed of matter. To find peace in this waiting period, we must look to the Hermetic principle of rhythm. The Kybalion teaches that everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. Consider the ocean. Before a massive tide rolls into the shore, the water must first pull back. It draws away from the beach, exposing the sand, creating what appears to be an emptiness. If you did not understand the rhythm of the ocean, you might look at the retreating water and believe the ocean was disappearing. You might panic, but the retreat is the gathering of power. The water pulls back to build the momentum necessary for the great wave that is about to arrive. The stagnation you feel in your life right now is the pulling back of the tide. The old structures have collapsed. The old frequencies have been cleared. You are standing on the exposed sand, feeling the emptiness. But the emptiness is not an absence. It is a clearing. It is the universe creating the physical space required to hold the magnitude of what is coming. Do not fear the stillness. Do not rush to fill the void with frantic action or worry. Stand firmly on the shore of your new identity. The tide is turning. The momentum has already shifted in the deep waters of the unseen, and it is only a matter of time before it crashes onto the shores of your physical experience. How then do you live your daily life while waiting for the lagging indicator to catch up? How do you pay the bills, navigate the challenging relationships, and walk through the mundane moments without losing your frequency? The answer lies in mastering the art of living from the end. You must separate your internal state from your external circumstances. Your joy cannot be contingent on what happens outside of you. Your peace cannot be a reaction to good news. The kingdom of God is a self-sustaining ecosystem. It generates its own light. When you truly understand that the manifestation is already finished in the quantum field, your entire relationship with time changes. You stop waiting for the future to save you. You stop viewing today as merely a stepping stone or an obstacle. Today becomes a profound opportunity to practice your new identity. If you know, with absolute certainty, that perfect health, profound wealth, and deep love are already yours, how would you walk through this current day? You would not walk with slumped shoulders. You would not speak with a voice of complaint. You would not react to minor inconveniences with devastating panic. You would walk with the quiet, unshakable confidence of an heir who has already inherited the estate. You would treat people with a radical generosity of spirit because you know your supply is infinite. You would breathe deeply. You would smile at the delays, knowing they are simply the universe moving the pieces of the chessboard into perfect position. We will now enter a space of deep, internal anchoring. You do not need to do anything physical. You simply need to become aware. Allow your attention to rest entirely on the present moment. Feel the profound stillness that exists right here, right now, underneath the noise of the world. There is a quiet knowing within you that has survived every storm. It is the breath of the Father of Spirit, vibrating at the exact frequency of love, peace, and abundance. Notice how the mind tries to pull you back to the past or project you into an anxious future. Gently, without judgment, call your energy back to the center of your chest. This is your command center. This is where you speak the contemporary language of mysticism. Silently, within the sanctuary of your own mind, declare your truth not as a request, but as an acknowledgement of what already is. Acknowledge that your physical reality is simply a shadow of yesterday, and it holds no power over your vibration today. Acknowledge that the quantum field has already reorganized to match your highest intention. Acknowledge that you are fully, completely, and eternally provided for by the source of all things. As you hold this truth, let go of the need to see it. Let go of the need to touch it. Relinquish the desperate grip on evidence. The evidence is not what makes it real. Your consciousness is what makes it real. Rest in the knowing. Rest in the finished work. The physical world has no choice but to follow the command of a stabilized frequency. You have spoken it in the dark. It is already moving toward the light. There comes a stage in every authentic transformation where the greatest work is no longer changing your thoughts. It is protecting them. The breakthrough is no longer about discovering truth, but remaining loyal to it while the physical world continues to deny it. This is the stage very few people understand. Most people believe growth should always feel exciting. They imagine spiritual evolution as a continuous series of revelations, miracles, and emotional highs. But nature tells a completely different story. A seed spends far more time underground than above it. A child spends months developing unseen within the womb before anyone celebrates the birth. A butterfly appears to emerge overnight, yet most of its transformation happened inside the darkness of the chrysalis. Invisible growth has always preceded visible manifestation. The problem is that the human mind has been conditioned to trust only what the physical senses can verify. We have been trained to believe that if we cannot measure progress, then progress does not exist. Nothing could be further from the truth. The greatest transformations are almost always invisible before they become undeniable. Think back over your own life. Every major change began internally long before anyone else noticed it. Before you changed careers, something shifted in your identity. Before you healed a relationship, something softened inside your heart. Before your confidence became obvious, you quietly stopped believing the lies that had defined you. The outer event simply revealed what had already happened within. This understanding changes everything. It means your current circumstances are no longer the authority on your future. They are merely the final echoes of a frequency you have already outgrown. Imagine shouting into a vast canyon. The echo continues long after your voice has stopped speaking. If someone heard only the echo, they would assume you were still talking. Yet you know the sound they hear belongs to the past. Your life works exactly the same way. Many of the challenges you face today are echoes. Old beliefs, old emotional patterns, old fears, old assumptions. They continue to reverberate through physical reality even though your consciousness has already changed. Your task is not to argue with the echo. Your task is to remember that the voice has already spoken. This requires a level of maturity that cannot be developed overnight. It requires becoming emotionally independent from appearances. Most people wake each morning asking one question: what happened? Masters wake each morning asking a different one: who am I choosing to be today? That single shift changes the direction of an entire life. Because identity creates behavior. Behavior creates habits. Habits create outcomes. Outcomes eventually reshape reality. The kingdom has never operated from the outside in. It has always operated from the inside out. This is why the greatest spiritual teachers continually pointed people inward. Not because the external world is meaningless, but because the external world is obedient. It follows consciousness. It mirrors vibration. It reflects identity. The mirror never decides what appears inside it. It only reveals what already stands before it. When you finally understand this, you stop fighting reflections. You become devoted to becoming the person the mirror cannot help but reveal. During this season, there will be days when nothing appears to be changing. Celebrate them. They are testing whether your peace depends upon results or upon truth. There will be moments when opportunities seem delayed. Bless them. Delay is often preparation disguised as frustration. There will be people who misunderstand your calmness. Allow them. Not everyone recognizes strength when it becomes quiet. The old version of you needed constant reassurance. The emerging version of you needs only alignment. This is the discipline of invisible growth. It is learning to become faithful before becoming famous, grateful before becoming prosperous, peaceful before circumstances improve, whole before relationships validate your worth. This discipline cannot be faked. Eventually, the pressure of life exposes whether your confidence comes from temporary outcomes or eternal identity. The one who depends upon evidence becomes discouraged every time appearances shift. The one who depends upon consciousness remains stable because they understand that appearances are always catching up. Imagine constructing a skyscraper. No one celebrates the foundation. The cameras arrive only after the building towers above the city skyline. Yet every engineer knows the invisible foundation determines the visible height. If someone judged the project during the excavation stage, they might conclude nothing impressive was happening. They would see only dirt, concrete, steel, noise, delay. But beneath the surface, the future was being prepared. Your current season may look exactly like that. It may appear ordinary, routine, unremarkable. But beneath the surface, your consciousness is laying foundations capable of supporting blessings that your previous identity could never have carried. If those blessings arrive too early, they would become burdens instead of gifts. Growth is not merely about receiving more. It is about becoming more. The universe does not simply ask whether you desire abundance. It asks whether your identity can sustain it. Can you remain peaceful after success? Can you remain generous after prosperity? Can you remain humble after recognition? Can you remain loving when life becomes easier? These are the questions invisible seasons answer. Every quiet day is preparing you for louder victories. Every delayed opportunity is strengthening unseen muscles. Every moment of apparent stillness is teaching your nervous system how to remain anchored, regardless of external movement. Eventually, one ordinary morning, something remarkable happens. A phone call arrives, a relationship heals, a financial opportunity appears, a creative breakthrough unfolds. Doors begin opening that once seemed permanently closed. To everyone else, it appears sudden. To you, it feels inevitable, because you understand the harvest did not begin that morning. It began months earlier when you chose faith instead of fear, gratitude instead of complaint, alignment instead of anxiety. The visible breakthrough is simply the final chapter of an invisible process. And once you understand this principle, you never fear seasons of stillness again. You recognize them for what they truly are. The sacred workshop where destiny quietly prepares everything the eyes cannot yet see. There is a profound shift that occurs when you stop waiting for your life to become the evidence, and instead decide to become the evidence yourself. This is the final transition. It is the crossing point between the seeker and the one who is found. Most people unknowingly postpone their lives. They tell themselves that they will finally become peaceful when the money arrives. They will become confident when the promotion comes. They will become generous when they have enough. They will become joyful when the relationship is healed. Their identity is forever chained to a future event. But the kingdom has never functioned that way. The kingdom has always invited you to reverse the equation. Instead of saying, "When my life changes, I will change," it whispers something infinitely more powerful. When you change, your life has no choice but to follow. This principle appears simple, yet it requires extraordinary courage. Why? Because it asks you to become the visible expression of an invisible reality. It asks you to walk as though you are already supported before the support becomes obvious. It asks you to speak as though your future is already secure while uncertainty still surrounds you. It asks you to love while others remain fearful. It asks you to forgive while the memory of pain still lingers. It asks you to create while inspiration seems absent. It asks you to trust while your senses continue presenting conflicting information. This is not denial. It is mastery. The average person is governed by circumstances. The awakened person governs their response to circumstances. That difference determines the trajectory of an entire lifetime. Consider the sun. Every morning it rises without asking whether the clouds approve. Clouds may temporarily conceal its light, but they never diminish it. The sun does not negotiate with the weather. It simply continues shining. Your consciousness was designed to operate in the same way. Temporary conditions are merely clouds. Your true nature is the light behind them. When you forget this, you become emotionally dependent upon every passing circumstance. One difficult conversation can ruin an entire day. One disappointing email can destroy your confidence. One unexpected expense can convince you that abundance has disappeared. One delayed opportunity can make you question your purpose. Yet none of these events possess the authority you unconsciously assign to them. Authority belongs to consciousness. Everything else is information. The physical world constantly reports conditions. It does not determine identity. Imagine watching the evening news. The news reports events. It does not create them. Likewise, your current circumstances are simply reporting what has already unfolded. They are not issuing commands about what must happen next. Too often, people mistake reports for prophecies. They assume today's reality guarantees tomorrow's experience. But tomorrow has never been created by today's appearances. Tomorrow is created by today's consciousness. This is why every morning becomes sacred. Each sunrise offers another opportunity to stabilize your identity. Not by forcing positive thoughts, not by pretending difficulties do not exist, but by remembering something deeper than circumstances. Remember that peace is your nature, love is your nature, creativity is your nature, abundance is your nature, wisdom is your nature. These qualities are not rewards you earn. They are expressions of who you already are. When you begin each day from this awareness, something remarkable happens. Your decisions become different. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop speaking from fear. You stop chasing validation. You stop arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop exhausting yourself trying to convince others of your worth. Instead, your life begins flowing from quiet certainty. Certainty is one of the highest frequencies available to human consciousness. It does not shout. It does not compete. It does not rush. It simply knows. Notice how nature embodies this effortlessly. An oak tree never compares itself to the pine tree. The river never competes with the mountain. The stars never apologize for shining. Everything in creation fulfills its purpose simply by expressing its own nature. Only human beings have forgotten this. We compare. We compete. We imitate. We seek permission to become what we were already created to be. Yet your highest contribution to the world has never been imitation. It has always been authentic expression. The world does not need another copy. It needs your original frequency. There are people whose healing is connected to your courage. There are opportunities waiting for your confidence. There are relationships waiting for your authenticity. There are creations waiting for your willingness to begin. Every day you delay becoming yourself, the ripple effect of your life remains delayed as well. This realization changes how you view ordinary moments. Preparing breakfast becomes an act of gratitude. Driving to work becomes an opportunity for presence. Speaking kindly to a stranger becomes an extension of abundance. Listening deeply becomes an act of love. Completing small responsibilities becomes a declaration of integrity. Suddenly, there are no insignificant moments. Every action either reinforces your old identity or strengthens your new one. Transformation is rarely built through dramatic decisions. It is built through ordinary consistency. One peaceful breath, one grateful thought, one forgiving response, one courageous conversation, one disciplined choice. Repeated often enough, these small actions become a new personality. That personality eventually becomes a new destiny. Many people are searching for one life-changing moment. Life is quietly inviting them into one life-changing habit. The miracle is not found only in extraordinary experiences. The miracle is found in becoming extraordinary during ordinary days. Imagine someone learning to play the piano. The audience applauds the performance. No one applauds the thousands of quiet hours spent practicing scales. Yet the performance exists because of those unseen repetitions. Your new life is no different. Every day you choose peace instead of panic, you are practicing. Every day you choose gratitude instead of complaint, you are practicing. Every day you refuse to identify with limitation, you are practicing. Every day you remember the kingdom within, you are practicing. Eventually, practice becomes nature. What once required effort begins flowing effortlessly. Confidence replaces hesitation. Calm replaces anxiety. Faith replaces striving. Presence replaces fear. Then something beautiful happens. People begin asking what changed. They notice your peace. They notice your patience. They notice your clarity. They notice your joy. Some will assume your circumstances became perfect. Only you will know the truth. Your circumstances changed because you did. You became the evidence. No longer were you waiting for abundance to prove the principles. Your life became the proof. No longer were you hoping that peace was possible. You embodied it. No longer were you searching for signs that the kingdom was real. You carried the kingdom wherever you went. This is the ultimate purpose of every invisible season. Not merely to give you what you desire, but to transform you into someone whose very presence reminds others that another way of living is possible. When you enter a room, fear begins losing its influence. When you speak, hope quietly awakens. When you remain calm during chaos, others discover stability within themselves. When you forgive, others believe healing is possible. When you love without condition, people catch a glimpse of the Father of Spirit reflected through an ordinary human life. This is the highest manifestation, not simply attracting better circumstances, but becoming a living demonstration of divine consciousness. The illusion of stagnation finally dissolves because you recognize that nothing was ever standing still. Every unseen moment was preparing visible glory. Every quiet day was strengthening invisible roots. Every delay was refining your character. Every challenge was teaching unwavering trust. The journey was never about arriving somewhere outside yourself. It was always about awakening to what had been alive within you from the very beginning. Walk forward now without needing constant reassurance. Carry your peace before your promotion. Carry your abundance before your increase. Carry your joy before your celebration. Carry your certainty before your evidence. For the world will eventually reflect what your consciousness consistently radiates. The mirror cannot resist the one who has finally become the image they were created to reveal. And when that reflection finally appears, you will smile, not because the miracle has begun, but because you will recognize that it began long ago, in the quiet moment when you chose to believe that invisible transformation was just as real as anything your eyes could ever see. There is one final realization that every sincere seeker must eventually embrace. It is perhaps the simplest truth, yet it is the one most often overlooked. There is no finish line. The mind longs for completion. It wants to arrive at a destination where every question has been answered, every challenge has disappeared, every fear has dissolved, and every dream has been fulfilled. It imagines enlightenment as a permanent state where life becomes effortless and uncertainty vanishes forever. But life itself tells another story. The universe is alive because it is always expanding. Galaxies continue stretching across unimaginable distances. Stars are continually born, while others gracefully return their energy to the cosmos. Forests never stop growing. Rivers never stop flowing. The ocean never tells a wave, "This is your final movement." Everything in creation exists through continual evolution. Why should consciousness be any different? The moment you believe you have arrived is often the moment you unknowingly stop growing. The kingdom was never meant to become a place you visit once. It is a reality you continually discover more deeply. Each season reveals another layer. Each challenge uncovers another opportunity for wisdom. Each victory prepares you for greater stewardship. Each revelation opens the door to an even greater mystery. This is not exhausting. It is liberating. Because it removes the impossible pressure of becoming finished. You were never created to become perfect according to the standards of the world. You were created to become increasingly aligned with the infinite life already flowing through you. Alignment is not a destination. It is a relationship. Every relationship deepens through continual attention. Imagine standing beside an endless ocean. You may spend a lifetime exploring its shoreline and still never discover every hidden cove beneath its waters. Would you become discouraged? Of course not. Its endlessness is precisely what makes it beautiful. The kingdom possesses that same quality. No matter how deeply you understand love, there is always a deeper expression. No matter how peaceful you become, there is always a quieter center. No matter how abundant your life becomes, there is always another opportunity to become more generous. Growth never asks you to abandon who you have become. It simply invites you to expand beyond your current understanding. This changes the way you interpret life's unexpected turns. The difficult seasons no longer feel like punishments. They become classrooms. The joyful seasons no longer become places of complacency. They become opportunities for gratitude. The uncertain seasons no longer create panic. They become invitations to trust more deeply. Everything begins serving your evolution. Even disappointment begins carrying hidden wisdom. Even delay becomes sacred preparation. Even unanswered questions become doorways leading toward greater awareness. The awakened individual eventually stops asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, they begin asking, "What is this experience inviting me to become?" Those two questions produce completely different lives. The first creates resistance. The second creates transformation. Every circumstance contains a lesson. Every encounter contains a mirror. Every success carries responsibility. Every failure contains instruction. Life has always been speaking. The only question is whether we have become quiet enough to hear it. Silence is one of the greatest teachers you will ever encounter. Not merely the absence of sound, but the absence of inner resistance. When the constant commentary of the mind settles, something extraordinary begins to emerge. Wisdom, not information, not borrowed beliefs, not ideas repeated from books or teachers. Living wisdom, the kind that rises naturally from direct experience. This wisdom cannot be purchased. It cannot be memorized. It cannot be inherited. It is cultivated through presence. You begin recognizing patterns that once seemed random. You notice how every season prepared you for the next one. You see how doors that once closed protected you from paths that would have diminished your purpose. You realize that many prayers were answered in forms you initially rejected because they failed to match your expectations. Looking backward, life begins making perfect sense. Looking forward, you no longer require perfect explanations. Trust has quietly replaced certainty, and perhaps that is one of the greatest miracles of all. The need to control slowly dissolves. You still create. You still dream. You still pursue meaningful goals. But the desperate attachment disappears. You begin participating with life instead of attempting to dominate it. Like a skilled sailor, you learn that wisdom does not come from controlling the wind. It comes from learning how to adjust the sails. The storms may still appear. Unexpected waves may still rise. Yet the experienced sailor no longer fears them, because experience has taught what panic never could. Likewise, your spiritual maturity is revealed not by the absence of challenges, but by the quality of your response to them. Calm becomes your default. Gratitude becomes your language. Presence becomes your strength. Compassion becomes your instinct. These qualities begin radiating naturally because they are no longer behaviors you perform. They have become expressions of your identity. People often ask how they will know they are truly changing. The answer is surprisingly simple. You will react differently. Situations that once triggered fear will invite curiosity. Conversations that once produced anger will awaken understanding. Delays that once caused frustration will strengthen patience. Silence that once felt lonely will become peaceful. Nothing announces transformation more clearly than a transformed response. Your environment may remain temporarily unchanged, but you no longer remain the same person within it. That is genuine freedom. Freedom is not found in controlling every circumstance. Freedom is discovering that your inner state no longer depends upon circumstances. From that place, creativity flourishes, love expands, relationships deepen, purpose becomes clearer, life becomes less about survival and more about contribution. You begin asking not, "What can I get from the world?" but, "What can I give to it?" This question unlocks a completely different level of abundance, because the greatest fulfillment never comes from accumulation. It comes from participation, from becoming an instrument through which wisdom, kindness, creativity, healing, and encouragement flow into the lives of others. Ironically, the more freely you give these qualities away, the more abundantly they return. Such is the rhythm of the kingdom. Nothing real is diminished through sharing. Love multiplies. Joy expands. Peace deepens. Wisdom grows clearer. Hope becomes contagious. Your life gradually becomes less focused on personal achievement and more focused on collective elevation. You begin celebrating the success of others as though it were your own. You recognize that another person's light does not reduce yours. It reminds you of what is possible. Competition quietly gives way to collaboration. Comparison dissolves into appreciation. Scarcity transforms into generosity. The illusion of separation begins disappearing. You recognize that beneath every personality, every culture, every background, and every story exists the same sacred spark seeking expression. This realization naturally gives birth to compassion. Compassion for those still struggling. Compassion for those who misunderstand you. Compassion for the version of yourself who once lived in fear. There is no need for condemnation, only understanding. For everyone awakens according to their own divine timing. As this awareness settles within you, something beautiful happens. Life itself becomes your meditation. Walking becomes prayer. Listening becomes worship. Working becomes service. Rest becomes trust. Breathing becomes gratitude. Nothing remains ordinary. Everything becomes sacred because your consciousness has become sacred. And perhaps this is the greatest lesson hidden within the entire journey. The purpose was never merely to manifest a different external life. The purpose was to awaken into a different way of living, a life where peace no longer depends upon certainty, a life where joy no longer waits for perfect conditions, a life where abundance begins within, a life where love becomes your natural atmosphere rather than an occasional emotion. When you live this way, every season carries beauty. Spring reminds you of new beginnings. Summer celebrates expansion. Autumn teaches graceful release. Winter cultivates quiet wisdom. You no longer resist the cycles. You move with them, because you now understand what the beginning of this journey could not yet reveal. There was never any true stagnation. There were only seasons your limited perspective had not yet learned to recognize. Everything was moving, everything was preparing, everything was becoming, including you. So continue walking with quiet confidence. Continue choosing love when fear seems easier. Continue choosing gratitude before evidence appears. Continue choosing peace before circumstances improve. Continue choosing presence over distraction. Continue choosing faith over appearances. Not because life demands perfection from you, but because each choice strengthens the person you are becoming. One day, perhaps years from now, you will pause and look back upon this chapter of your life. You will smile at the moments you once believed were delays. You will feel gratitude for the seasons you once wanted to escape. You will recognize that every invisible transformation, every silent breakthrough, every hidden lesson, and every patient act of faith was weaving together a life far richer than you could have imagined. And you will finally understand that the greatest manifestation was never simply the life you created. It was the person you became while creating it. That person, anchored in peace, grounded in truth, overflowing with love, and unwavering in faith, is the masterpiece the kingdom had been forming all along. Everything else was simply the reflection,